They expected a monster. Every world had sent one-clawed champions, acid-blooded hunters, apex killers bred for glory. The air shimmered with their heat and pride. And then Earth's shuttle touched down late, lopsided, and missing half its paint. The ramp hissed open, and out walked a teenager in a hoodie, earbuds dangling, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. No roar, no armor, just a sigh. Somewhere in the crowd, an alien laughed until the boy looked up. And something in that tired human stare made the laughter die. The Concord Arena's outer deck buzzed with tension. Predators from Threx, Vornax, Kesh, and 6 more Apex worlds paced in containment domes. Some shimmered with stealth field inhibitors. Others clicked in biomechanical precision or reeked of biochemical intimidation. This was the Summit Hunt, the oldest contest of dominance in the Orion Concord. And Earth had sent this. The boy stepped off the ramp. Worn sneakers squeaked slightly on the deck. His hoodie bore faded print, Nevada State Track and Field. The sleeves were too long. He blinked slowly at the towering gatekeeper drone that approached with a scanner. Identify, it said in 7 languages. Eli Ward, he muttered, voice low but clear. Species? Human. F. Designation? He sighed again. Competitor. The drone hesitated. Weapon? Eli tapped the side of his head. This. Your skull? My brain. The drone processed that. And? Eli exhaled through his nose. Also, I'm in a bad mood. Laughter erupted from the Kesh delegation. Their entry, a panther-sized insect with carbon blade legs, hissed gleefully. A Vornaxian hunter, in plated green armor, turned to the others and made a show of tapping out the betting board. 10 minutes, he said in his native tongue. He won't last 10. Eli glanced at the board. Cool. Then walked past them all, like none of this mattered. The orientation briefing was held inside the Apex Dome, a circular chamber where the 12 participants were scanned, tagged, and displayed before the spectators. The announcer, a sleek-built avian professor named Valtry, recited from a floating script. This year's Summit Hunt celebrates not bloodshed, but evolution, the capacity of life to adapt, to overcome, to redefine threat. One by one, the champions were called forward. Karth of Threx, 9 feet tall, triple-jointed limbs, a jaw capable of crushing titanium. Valen III of Vornax, engineered for cloaking and short-range kinetic bursts. Unit XJ-88, an artificial predator from Omnicore, built to kill anything biological with mathematical certainty. And then, Competitor 12, designation, Sol 3, name, Eli Ward. The spotlight found him. He squinted. Would you like to introduce your planetary purpose? Eli shrugged. I'm just here because someone from Earth had to show up. Do you represent your species? No, I missed chemistry, and my mom said this counted as responsible behavior. There was a long pause. What's your specialty? Valtry asked. Eli rubbed the back of his neck. Problem solving. Running away when appropriate. Breaking stuff if it gets too close. Kill count? Eli raised an eyebrow. What? Have you participated in prior competitive hunts? No. What do you hunt? Usually vending machines, when they eat my coins. The room did not laugh. The silence was sharp and unsure. Valtry coughed into the translator. Very well. Proceed to outfitting. The outfitting chamber gave each competitor a weapon suite, targeting visors and adaptive armor. Eli took nothing. Your kit is standard, the technician protested. You're permitted 8 items. Eli opened his backpack. Inside was a water bottle, duct tape, 2 protein bars, 3 zip ties, and a multi-tool. He lifted it slightly. I'm good. Absolution. The technician stared. Eli walked out, tightening his hoodie drawstring. The verdant expanse was the first trial. A kilometer-wide simulation of jungle terrain. Each competitor was dropped at a different location. Each had one objective: retrieve the fang of a synthetic apex beast and return to the base within the time limit. No drones, no spectators, just pain. When Eli hit the ground, he landed wrong. Not badly, but his left ankle twisted. Not a break, but enough to send a bolt of pain up his shin. He bit down a hiss, rolled over, waited a few seconds. The pain faded to a dull throb. He stood carefully, tested weight. Mild sprain, he muttered. Great. He tied his shoelaces tighter and scanned the area. No predators yet. But sounds moved through the trees, mechanical rustling, echo-dampened howls, the low drone of heat sensors sweeping the underbrush. Eli pulled a stick from the ground and started limping through the brush. His gait wasn't perfect, but it would do. He began looking for anything unusual. Then stopped. 2 minutes in, he found a snare. Basic. A tripline made of root vine tensioned across a low ridge, designed to hoist the victim upside down. Eli crouched and traced it back to its anchor. Found the trigger. Disabled it. Then rearmed it with a twig extension, moved it 2 feet, and added a bait mark with crushed moss. 20 minutes later, a 4-legged shimmer beast from planet Enrin sprinted through the glade. The trap caught it mid-step. The audience, watching from the monitors above, gasped. The shimmer beast screeched in confusion, hanging by its leg, spinning. Eli stepped out of a tree shadow, whistled once, then waited. The beast slashed at the air wildly. Eli flung a rock. Missed on purpose. The beast stopped thrashing. Eli stepped forward, just enough for the beast to see him. No weapon, no armor. He crouched beside a log. Waited. The shimmer beast hissed. Eli reached into his backpack and pulled out a protein bar. Unwrapped it. There's no other. Tore it in half. Tossed the other half gently onto the ground. Then backed away. The beast stared. Eventually, it fell quiet. Eli left. The first trial ended with a broken trap, 1 caught beast, and no blood spilled. When the judges reviewed his route, they flagged the following terms: improvised engineering, environmental redirection, non-lethal containment, species-specific behavioral luring. The Vornaxian delegate whispered something no one expected. Did he just out-hunt the hunt? Back in the holding chamber, medics checked Eli's ankle. Grade 1 lateral ligament sprain. Slight swelling. They offered him a dermal spray with localized anti-inflammatories and a compression wrap. He refused the spray, took the wrap. Side effects mess with my stomach, he said. The medic nodded. He wrapped the ankle manually, standard 8-figure wrap, compression adequate, mobility preserved. You'll be sore, the medic warned. I'm always sore. That night, the other competitors reviewed footage. None of them understood what Eli was doing. He wasn't hiding, he wasn't stalking. He wasn't even playing the game. He was breaking it. And building something else. The second trial was held in the Ash Dunes, a vast expanse of volcanic soil, laced with thermal vents and sudden geysers of superheated gas. A place built not to challenge strength, but reaction, coordination, heat endurance, timing. Eli entered it limping. His wrapped ankle had stiffened overnight, and the medics confirmed what he already knew. Lateral sprain, healing slowly. No tearing, no fractures. He'd iced it, elevated, did the stretches they showed him, but it still hurt. Don't push off that side too hard, the therapist had warned. If you aggravate it, it's a 4-week recovery minimum. Eli nodded. Then walked into the ash dunes anyway. His movements were lopsided, careful. The other competitors, those who still underestimated him, assumed this would be where he fell. Not because of pain, but because pain usually limits intelligence. It didn't. Eli wasn't running. He was calculating. The ash dunes were a closed-loop zone, monitored only by passive drone feed, but each section had subtle patterning pressure plates embedded under the crust, geysers triggered by weight differentials. The moment he crossed the second ridge, he crouched. Drew in the ash with a broken stick. Started mapping. It wasn't a perfect map. He didn't know the timing cycles or vent tolerances. But he guessed. Then tested. He rolled a rock across the field and counted seconds. The geyser shot up. He adjusted. 5 more tests, 4 more sketches in the ash. Then he moved. Every step precisely timed, every pressure plate skirted. Once, he stepped onto one intentionally timing the delay, measuring the hiss before flipping backward off the tile and letting the geyser burst behind him like a curtain of smoke. The audience gasped. The judges leaned forward. No armor, no suit, just ash on his hoodie and careful math in his head. He wasn't avoiding the arena. He was solving it. Halfway through the dunes, Eli found something new: a creature. Not one of the competitors. A genuine environmental predator, six-limbed, lava-blooded, thick-skinned, and half-melted by design. It was built to punish arrogance. Its eyes were heat-seeking. It had taken down 3 contestants already. It smelled him before it saw him. Eli crouched behind a slope of blackened glass, ankle throbbing. He knew it would pick up on his heat signature. He couldn't outclimb it. He couldn't outrun it on this terrain. So he didn't. He reached into his bag, pulled the duct tape, and wrapped a small metallic strip from his water bottle around a chunk of scorched mineral. He twisted the bottle open, poured out some of the warm fluid, and set the metal stone decoy upright. Then threw his hoodie over it. From above, the heat signature looked human. He backed away quietly, flattening himself to the ground and covering his head with sand. Every inch of him burned from the heat, and his ankle screamed, but he didn't move. The creature crested the ridge, saw the decoy, pounced. The hoodie went up in smoke. By then, Eli was already past the next ridge. 2 competitors had burned. One had withdrawn due to heat stroke. Eli made it out with second-degree burns on his forearms and mild dehydration. The medics caught him when he stumbled through the exit gate. "Stop walking, sit." Eli collapsed. They started scanning. The burns were moderate, both arms blistered along the dorsal side. They cleaned the wounds, applied burn gel with lidocaine, and began saline cooling wraps. "Hydration status, borderline critical," one muttered. They gave him 2 IVs, monitored vitals. Eli stayed quiet the whole time. He finally broke silence with a rasped question. "Am I disqualified?" The medic looked up, surprised. "You nearly got cooked alive and you're asking about your score?" "Yeah." "No, you're still in." Eli nodded. "Good." Then he slept. Hard. While he healed, the broadcast played and replayed the same scene. A boy with burned hands dragging himself through boiling terrain after distracting a predator with nothing but basic tools and common sense. He hadn't attacked, hadn't threatened. He'd just adapted. The commentator from Kesh summed it up simply. "Not strength, pattern, recognition." "Is that all it is?" asked another. "No," the Kesh replied. "It's something older, more dangerous." Eli's vitals were stable after 12 hours. The burns were dressed, and his ankle had improved enough to bear weight for limited movement. He was cleared for light physical activity by the on-site medical board, with a note: "Pain tolerance unusually high, exhibits rational behavior under duress, not reckless, selectively methodical." In other words, not lucky. Just built for this. The next trial was tactical, a simulated urban kill zone populated with drones and stalking hazards. The objective was to retrieve a signal beacon and return to the extraction point. Every other competitor suited up, reviewed blueprints, armed themselves. Eli took one look at the drone paths and rerouted a power cable from a wall junction, then overloaded the system. He didn't disable the drones. He made them think the signal beacon was chasing them. For 2 full minutes, drone packs scattered in blind evasion, confused by false thermal data. Eli walked right in, picked up the beacon, then reprogrammed one of the drones to carry it for him. The judges held an emergency session after that. This isn't what the hunt was designed for. He's undermining the contest. He's surviving, which is the entire point. But he's not following protocol. Neither did the first species that left their atmosphere. Eli wasn't discussed as a competitor anymore. He was classified as a phenomenon. By the end of the day, one more competitor had dropped out with a dislocated shoulder and a deep laceration. Another failed to extract in time and was retrieved with hypothermic shock. Eli had bruises, sandburn, and lingering ache in his left ankle. But he walked into the recovery chamber, humming softly, sipping electrolyte water through a cracked straw. "Any injuries we missed?" the nurse asked. "Not the kind you treat here." She nodded. "Mental fatigue?" He smiled weakly. "I'm 17, that's just normal." She didn't understand. But she wrote stable on his chart anyway. By then, the betting boards had shifted. No one gave Eli a timer anymore. They gave him odds to win. They gave him questions. They whispered words like anomaly, variable, non-standard actor. One of the council scientists, a historian from Vicari, requested permission to study human neurological evolution in real time. His request was denied, because Earth hadn't sent a predator. They'd sent an update. The fourth trial was the Dead Run Gauntlet. It had no terrain theme, no strategic layers. It was a straight line of moving obstacles, shifting walls, chemical fog, and live biohazards. It was designed to shred hesitation, punish overthinking, and reward instinct. It was not built for someone like Eli. He didn't sprint. He studied. The other competitors leapt into the course the moment the countdown finished, each relying on reflexes honed by generations of engineered survival. Razor-scaled limbs, sonic mapping, predictive synapse bursts. Eli stood still at the start line. A full 10 seconds passed before he moved. The commentators howled with confusion. He's frozen. Maybe the ankle's worse than we thought. But Eli was counting. Each obstacle moved on a pattern. Each trap had rhythm. He walked 5 steps, then ducked. A steel pillar tore through the air above him. He stepped again, then dropped to one knee. The floor beneath him jolted up with a kinetic spike. He let it carry him half a meter forward, then rolled and landed on his good leg. One of the medic observers whispered, "That can't be accident." It wasn't. He was using the arena's own aggression to move. 30 meters in, he reached a section where acid mist drifted from overhead vents. The competitors ahead had pushed through, relying on regenerative skin or chemical resistance. Eli paused, then reached into his backpack and pulled out the burn wrap from 2 days prior, still faintly damp with medicated gel. He tore it lengthwise, tied it across his nose and mouth, and soaked it with his canteen. Then waited for the mist to shift. It didn't. So he changed tactics. He picked up one of the arena's floor plates dislodged by a previous blast and wedged it under a ventilation outlet to redirect the draft. The mist shifted away. He walked through in 30 seconds, untouched. When he emerged, the crowd didn't cheer. They watched. Because by now, even the Apex worlds understood something. Eli wasn't just adapting to his environment. He was modifying it. Near the end of the gauntlet, the course changed. It always did. Each cycle, one final randomized threat was added unknown to the contestants, unknown even to the judges. This time, it was a gravitational inversion. As Eli reached the final stretch, the ceiling became the floor. He was flung upward. The Vornax competitor ahead of him hit the inverted floor and shattered his shoulder. Eli had 3 seconds to think. He didn't panic. He curled. Mid-air. He twisted his body to absorb the impact on his back and left thigh away from the healing ankle. He hit hard. Cracked a rib. He felt it a deep, sharp pull along the side of his torso. Not enough to puncture the lung, but definitely a fracture. He stayed still for half a breath, then breathed in slowly. Pain flared, not unbearable. But it would mean restricted motion, limited rotation, and difficulty crouching. He didn't flinch. He rolled to his feet. Climbed down from the inverted chamber using the ventilation piping flipped manually, and crossed the finish line as medical sensors flashed red. The medics descended the moment he dropped. X-ray confirmed a non-displaced fracture on the 8th rib, lateral aspect. No lung puncture, but intercostal bruising. Pain response, high. Breathing efficiency, reduced by 16%. They offered him dermal fusion therapy and nerve dampening. He declined the nerve block. "Just close the rib," he said. "I still need to feel what not to do." The attending surgeon frowned. "You'll move slower." "I already move slow." They repaired the fracture using standard tissue welding gel. No regrowth enhancer. Eli insisted on natural healing rates, said he didn't trust synth bone elasticity. "Has to hold the right way," he muttered. The surgical team added a thoracic brace, wrapped his ribs tightly, and fitted his back with a lightweight compression vest for mobility support. When the surgeon finally cleared him for discharge, he said, "This kind of injury would have grounded a Threx." Eli shrugged. "We break, we just keep going." The footage of the dead run played for Galactic Review that evening. Commentators abandoned the term contestant. They started calling him the variable. He wasn't fast, wasn't powerful, But he was impossible to trap. He learned mid-event, anticipated changes, turned chaos into a sequence. A hunter from Kesh summed it up simply: he doesn't fight the rules, he rewrites them. Back in the dorm chambers, Eli sat alone. Ice pack on his ribs. One foot still wrapped. The brace made breathing stiff, but manageable. He was sipping protein gel through a straw when the Threx competitor, Karth, approached. Karth had never spoken to anyone before. He sat beside Eli and stared at the floor. "You do not dominate." Eli looked at him. Karth turned his heavy eyes. "You redirect." Eli exhaled through his nose. "I don't like hurting things." Karth's tongue flicked out once, slowly. "But you endure pain without hesitation. I don't enjoy that either." The Threx leaned forward, claws resting on the floor. "Then why are you still here?" Eli paused. Then, in the quiet voice of someone who never thought anyone was listening, "Because no one told me I couldn't be." Karth stared for a long moment. Then stood, nodded once, left without another word. From that moment on, Karth never attacked Eli again. The judges began arguing over new classifications. He couldn't be listed under Predator. He didn't meet the aggression quota. He didn't stalk, didn't hunt, didn't strike first. But he also couldn't be listed under Prey. He didn't flee, didn't submit, didn't break. A new file was opened under the Orion Concord Taxonomy database. Name: Ward, Eli. Origin: Sol 3. Classification: Pending. Behavioral marker: Adaptive interrupter. Status: Observational priority. Beneath that, a note was appended. Displays human-specific behavioral anomaly. Reframes threat scenarios as puzzles, not combat. Risk level unknown. Learning curve exceeds simulation metrics. Instinctively undermines predator-prey framework. It was the first time in Summit Hunt history that a competitor had created a new behavioral axis. Not kill or be killed. Understand. Then subvert. The final arena was called the Nexus Spire. 8 levels of simulated terrain stacked vertically flooded lower levels, gravity shift mid-zones, vacuum tunnel top floor. The objective: reach level 8, trigger the flag, then survive the descent. All without external support. All in 60 standard minutes. Eli Ward entered limping, rib brace creaking with each breath, vaulting nervously but steady. 7 competitors remained. Threx's Karth with his fractured pride, Vornax's Valen 3, the Omnicore unit. Others. They moved silently, confidently, into the Nexus. Eli paused at the entry. Pulled out his earbuds, tossed them aside. "No music," he muttered. "Just this." He touched his temple again. The hovering monitors flickered. Protocols logged it. Level 1. Flooded walkways. The corridor filled halfway in brackish water, seeded with bioelectric eels that targeted shadow. Others sprinted, slipped, got shocked. Karth burst through, fins kicking. Eli waited. He applied tape from his backpack around his forearms and secured the multi-tool as a short bar handle. He used the tool's metal end to prod the system's light beams above the water when the eels paused. He memorized the flicker rate. Then he moved sideways, using low-light reflections on the wet floor to avoid eels. Most survivors emerged soaked, battered. Eli stepped out dryish, an elbow bruise, water in his ear. Level 2. Gravity shift corridor. Layers where floor became ceiling then shifted back. Others vaulted or attempted to cling. Eli stopped, counted the intervals, folded into a ball at each inversion, rolled himself with the motion. When gravity flipped, he detached a zip tie from his tool belt, caught ceiling railing, scrambled across when gravity righted. Competitors slipped. One unnatural insectoid competitor's 4 limbs betrayed him. Eli emerged ahead, bruised ribs aching, ankle complaining. Level 3. Vacuum tunnel. Transparent dome. Pressure drops, solar flares inside. Others wore reinforced suits. Eli had only his hoodie. He found a maintenance hatch, cracked it, undid 2 screws with his multi-tool, released pressure slowly, created backshell suction that held him to the dome wall while he crawled. The sun flare triggered. He slid under a shielding panel and waited. The others shielded, jittered, panicked. He pulled his hoodie around his face, survived with mild dehydration and suit pressure dust inhalation. Medics noted low oxygen saturation for 2 minutes, but full recovery. Level 4 through 7 passed in a blur of traps, predator drones, combat bots. He used rusted ceiling pipes as levers, redirected thermal vents, exploited killbots mapping shadows. Each competitor attacked him. He didn't fight back aggressively. He used misdirection. A thrown rock triggered a combat bot to open fire on a rival. Another trap field malfunctioned because he reprogrammed its signal with his multi-tool. The monitors flagged him under unauthorized system hijack. Physicians noted his heart rate drifted into steady zone despite trauma. His ankle swelled but no collapse. Mid-level check-in. Grade 2 sprain still, rib brace shifting, pain management via adrenaline endorphins only. No analgesics per his request. Level 8. The Siege Chamber. Final floor. A massive chamber filled with representatives of apex predators. The goal? Each competitor must face one of the Congress's chosen beasts. Others had brutal weapons. They charged forward. Karth roared. Valen 3 vanished with cloaking. Eli walked in, hands empty. On cue, his opponent was released. A cybernetic panther from Kesh. Jaws full of liquid metal blades. It lunged. Others fired. Eli sidestepped. He didn't shoot. He waited, studied. He caught the beast's motion. Then when it pounced, he rolled underneath, grabbed the metal tail, twisted. The beast yowled, mechanical veins tearing. Instead of killing, Eli whispered, "You don't have to do this." The beast shuddered, stopped, looked at Eli, and bowed, a recognition, not submission. The crowd gasped. Karth froze. Valen 3 paused for the first time. The panther retreated quietly, passive. The monitors froze. The scoreboard didn't list Eli as winner. Instead, status. Unclassified, evolution in progress in Crimson. A new category. The Apex Council chairman rose. "Explain yourself." Eli tapped his temple again. "I said, I am the weapon." He smiled. "But weapons kill. I'm about change." Silence. Then applause hesitant. The predators watched him differently now. The medics scanned him. Rib brace removal scheduled in 3 weeks. Ankle progressing to mobility phase. Trauma markers low, despite extensive system stress. Neurological scans showed nothing extraordinary. Just human. Readiness, resilience, recalibration. The final resolution. The Summit Hunt is discontinued, replaced by Summit Evolution. New protocols drafted. Earth's humanity flagged as catalyst species, adaptive class. Eli walked away from the arena, hoodie stained, earbuds in again. He glanced at the beasts. "See you next season." And somewhere in the council chambers, a new taxonomy whispered. Not predator, not prey, something else entirely. Eli Ward stood on the platform of the arena's final exit ramp. Bruised, aching in his ribcage and left ankle, hoodie stained and sneakers scuffed, earbuds draped around his neck like a token. Behind him, the stadium filled with predators, delegates, screens, and stillness. The monitors glowed crimson with his result. Unclassified, evolution in progress. He exhaled once. The sound echoed in his helmeted headset. He pressed the start button, and music rose up something. Earth pop, bass light, but steady. He took a step, then another. The crowd expected him to limp, to pause. He didn't. Instead, he walked deliberately. The chairman of the Apex Council approached, feathers trembling, multi-lens amphibian eyes shifting in uncertainty. "Competitor Ward," the chairman said, "you have redefined the criteria of this summit hunt. Explain your victory." Eli reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled media card. Held it up. "Here's the footage of the arena," he said. "Everything we did, the traps, the danger, the pain, the wins." He paused, pulled the earbuds out and offered them. "Here's your soundtrack." The music played out across the speakers. "And here's what I learned." He looked at the beasts assembled around him. The Threx warrior Karth stood near the edge, injured but steady. The Vornaxian hunter nodded, weirdly respectful. The Kesh panther machine crouched still, unclaimed. Hunting is a method. Evolving is the outcome. A murmur spread like cold wind through the chamber. The predators stiffened. When they streamed back to their containment domes, they carried something new: caution, curiosity, self-reflection. The chairman's voice was soft. "What do you propose, then?" "I propose we retire the hunt," Eli said. "Not because we can't fight, but because we don't need to fight each other to survive. We need to survive with each other." He showed his ankle wrap and rib brace. "I got hurt. Others got wounded. That's real. But the worst injuries come from thinking the other guy's the problem." He set his backpack on the platform. "I brought only questions." He gestured to the beasts, then to himself. "I found the answer." Silence reigned. Not the loud kind, but the heavy kind. Then applause flickered. First one species, then another. Karth clapped slowly with massive claws. Valen 3 tapped a helmet plate. Even the Panther machine made a low hum of recognition. The chairman nodded. "The summit hunt shall be retired. In its place will stand the summit evolution. Every species will present not its finest killer, but its finest problem solver. Every generation will test not destruction, but transformation." Eli nodded. He stepped forward and held out his hand. Karth clasped it. The audience held its breath. Then more creatures stepped forward. The alliance was formed. In the next room they filmed a new record entry. Species: Homo sapiens. Classification: Catalyst class, adaptive. Status: confirmed. Notes: demonstrated non-lethal override of Apex protocols. Initiated cross-species behavioral evolution. Tier: unknown. Eli whispered to himself, and no transcript captured the words. But his voice rang clearly. "Just wait." He turned and walked away from the arena, earbuds in again. He flipped the hood up, hands in pockets, a slight limp in his stride, but nothing that slowed him. The Predator champions watched him go. The monitors followed his silhouette recede into the hallway. The lights dimmed. The feed cut. And all across the Orion Concord systems, analysts scratched their data pads, rewrote threat matrices, adjusted classifications. Because sometimes, the greatest change doesn't come from domination. It comes from the one who refuses the game as written and redefines what it means to win.